Initially shown off as a new take on the original Final Fantasy game, Stranger of Paradise holds a lot more than what you see at first glance. And no, it's not just chaos.
Is to kill chaos, fight chaos, out of seeing chaos dead. The chaos has been waiting. Chaos, kill chaos. Chaos, deal with chaos. Chaos exists. Crystal, there's chaos. Come on, are you chaos?
After playing, you'll realize that this game is actually more of a prequel to Final Fantasy I. Not only that, it actually explains the how and whys of Jack's transformation into Garland, thus creating the original, complicated time loop. To understand how this all fits together, first we'll need to understand what happened in the original game. In Final Fantasy I, Garland is the first boss. He was a noble knight who succumbed to darkness and kidnapped the princess Sarah of Cornelia. Taking her back to his hideout, the Chaos Shrine, Final Fantasy I begins with the 4 playable characters, the Warriors of Light, fighting and defeating Garland. Unbeknownst to them, he doesn't actually die. Rather, he's sent back 2,000 years into the past. This was accomplished by 4 powerful fiends that have been wreaking havoc on the world by disrupting the 4 elements. Lich manipulates the earth, Merilith fire, Kraken the water, and Tiamat the winds. They do this by corrupting large crystals that were placed all over the land that were meant to help keep balance, not cause calamity. After a long journey, the Warriors of Light are able to defeat the Fiends and open a portal to the past. Here they must defeat the 4 Fiends again and find Garland. This time around, he's fully corrupted by the darkness, taking the form of chaos. They defeat him and stop the time loop from ever happening. This creates a new timeline, causing their quest and deeds to be forgotten. However, in this new timeline, the world is at peace and Garland never succumbs to the darkness. So how does all this tie into Stranger of Paradise? And why would Jack want to become Chaos? We'll answer those questions next. In both games, there's an advanced race of people called the Lufenians, who live separate from the world. They used to live in a place called the Flying Fortress, but were forced to leave their home by Tiamat, the Fiend of the Wind. They are an incredibly advanced race and have technology that allows them to manipulate time. The Lufenians discover that there is an imbalance between the light and darkness in Cornelia, and that this will lead to the destruction of the world in approximately 2,000 years' time. So to try and stop this from happening, they created the Stranger Project. Strangers are humans who are sent through time to try and maintain the balance of light and dark. Using a dimensional crystal matrix, the Lufenians are able to reset time to any chosen point. This allows them to endlessly try to use the Stranger Project to fix the imbalance and create their ultimate utopia, saving the world. Each stranger is given a dark crystal. These not only increase their combat powers, but also erase their memories every time they are sent back in time. They are left only with a desire to destroy chaos and the forces of darkness. With the introduction of this project, the balance was shifting too far in the direction of light, which could also be catastrophic. So the Lufenians injected the world with darkness. This also created the possibility of allowing humans and their emotions to transform into monsters and eventually the uncontrollable deity, Chaos. During one of the loops, one of the strangers was transformed by the darkness into a monster. Sophia, wanting to save the world so badly, but feeling helpless and desperate, was defeated and was transformed into the fiend Tiamat. This is the opening battle or tutorial mission of the game. Because of this transformation, she is no longer permitted to return home like the other strangers. What the Lufenians are unaware of, this transformation allows her to retain some of her memories on the next reset and leaves behind a phantom in the spot she perished. This phantom is bound in place, transcending time and space. It remains in the hope that it can one day help prevent the strangers from repeating the same mistakes. After each reset, the dark crystals only leave the strangers with an implanted desire to kill chaos. This raw desire draws them together each cycle, letting them start anew. Throughout their quest, they begin to question if chaos even exists. The people of Cornelia strongly believe in a legend told to them of the Warriors of Light, who will save the world from chaos. The people use this tale to convince the strangers that they are these legendary warriors. However, the dark crystals they hold do not seem to match the descriptions of crystals they held in the legends. They eventually meet up with a Lufenian agent that has been left in this world, Astos, a dark elf who was also in the original Final Fantasy game. He is meant to report back to the Lufenians on the strangers and their effects on the balance of light and dark in the world. Unbeknownst to the Lufenians, in a previous timeline, Jack formed a close friendship with Astos, and together they made a plan to help Jack regain his memories in a future cycle. Astos received reports that humans are the main cause of the imbalance between darkness and light, and that they must be dealt with. The Lufenians began planning to flood the world with so much darkness that all humans would turn into monsters. This would allow them to eliminate them and solve the human problem, thus letting them achieve their ultimate utopia. This is what drove Jack and Astos to try and find a way to stop the Lufenians from interfering in this world and timeline altogether. Over the course of their journey, Astos secretly guides and helps Jack and his friends, leading them to regain their memories and put them onto this path to break the cycle they had been trapped in. Every time the team was able to destroy a monster of chaos, or one of the Fiends, darkness was released and would bring back glimpses of previous timelines. This slowly allowed the strangers to remember what had happened before. After defeating all 4 Fiends around the world and clearing the darkness that was corrupting their crystals, Ash, Jed, Sophia, and Neon all regain enough of their memories to understand what must be done to end the loop once and for all.
You remember now, right? It's our job to guide him. No cold feet.
Yeah. Jack can't do this by himself. He needs us.
Agreed. That is the reason why we're all here.
Can't let him down now.
Cornelia is attacked by monsters, and seeing the royal family slain, Jack is filled with anger and despair. Princess Sarah is killed, and it's revealed she held one final, 6th dark crystal. It breaks and gathers and releases all of the darkness in Cornelia to her. Knowing what they must do, Jack's friends attack him, forcing him to fight them all to the death, and his overwhelming emotions allow him to absorb the power of darkness from their bodies. Fully embracing the power of darkness and chaos, Jack remembers the past timelines and his plan with Astos. He returns to the Chaos Shrine, which acts as a gateway to the station, a separate dimension out of time that the Lufenians use to perform the reset on the world. Jack crosses through, taking the power of his friends and the darkness with him. Seeing Jack embracing darkness and chaos, the Lufenians panic and cut off access to his timeline from their reality. This prevents them from being able to influence the timeline anymore, and leaves all their agents stranded in the world. They begin to purge the station and to try and erase Jack and save their own lives. But he is instead pulled 2,000 years into the past by his deceased friends who have now used the darkness to transform into the 4 Fiends. In the past, and with their timeline cut off from the Lufenians' reality, the world could no longer be manipulated. Jack and his friends, who are now the Fiends, begin a plan to create the mythical Warriors of Light, which will cause the events of Final Fantasy I's complicated time loop to happen. This creates the world from Final Fantasy I, as well as all the events that unfold in that game, starting with Jack kidnapping Princess Sarah and causing the Warriors of Light to appear. In the final scene, we see what looks like the Warriors of Light silhouettes entering the shrine, while Jack is patiently waiting in his full Garland armor. This definitely shines a new light on Jack and the antagonist Garland as a whole. While being the big bad villain of Final Fantasy I, we now see that he actually chose this path to become Chaos. He wanted to set the world free of the manipulation of the Lufenians and was willing to sacrifice his own life to get it. Now that you know the whole story, how does that make you feel about the man who would kill and become Chaos? Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and keep an eye out for another brand new video that will be going in depth on the Lufenians, what we know about them, and possibly the plot for Final Fantasy XIX. And as always, happy gaming.